Okay, bear with me, we have a lot to cover today. These days, when a video game is released, it is often followed by DLC, downloadable content, that adds new characters, stories, or even expansions. But before online updates and DLC was the norm, developers found other ways to extend the game's life. Instead of patches, we got updated re-releases. This happened with plenty of franchises. Resident Evil had its director's cut and later a DualShock edition. Tekken 5 was re-released as Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection on the PSP, and Mortal Kombat, well, it took things a step further in 1995, releasing not one, not two, but three different titles connected to the same numbered entry. And today, we explore the tale of three games. Welcome to episode 3 of the Mortal Kombat Takeover. Today, we're back in Earthrealm, stopping an invasion with Mortal Kombat 3.
Finish her! Finish him! Fatality!
Toasty!
If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to explore the other Mortal Kombat retrospectives, as there's more content just like this. Also, if you want to explore what I have in the future, feel free to subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell to stay up to date. Let's dive into this. Before we dive into Mortal Kombat 3, let's rewind a bit. Some key factors from earlier episodes will come full circle here. When the first Mortal Kombat was being developed, John Tobias and a few close friends put together a homemade demo pitch to Bally Midway. Initially, the idea was rejected, but after an uppercut demonstration in Ed Boon's office, the project was greenlit. From there, Tobias's friends stepped in to help bring the game to life. Among them were Daniel Pesina, Carlos Pesina, and Rich DeVizio. Ho Sung Pak joined the team to portray both Liu Kang and Shang Tsung, while Elizabeth Malecki took on the role of Sonya Blade. Despite controversy, the game became a massive success. Moving on to Mortal Kombat 2, nearly all the original cast returned except for Elizabeth Malecki. While Sonya wasn't a playable character, her likeness still appeared in the background of Shao Kahn's courtyard stage. Now, in my last video, I mentioned the legal battles Mortal Kombat sparked in the 90s. Here's where that story unfolds. By 1993, Mortal Kombat 2 was ranking in millions at arcades, and with the success of Mortal Monday, the home console versions were set to make even more. Around this time, the game's performers began seeking higher compensation. While Boon and Tobias sympathized, they explained that as employees of Midway, they had no authority to offer bonuses. Only management could make that call. However, Midway's executives were open to negotiations and drafted a new general release agreement. In April 1994, they had a meeting with the Mortal Kombat cast, offering a revised contract. Most of it was standard. Performers were considered work-for-hire contractors, meaning Midway owned all the rights to their contributions, including derivative works like home console versions. However, this new deal included a signing bonus alongside their usual hourly rate. After the meeting, the performers gathered in private. Many turned to Daniel Pesina for guidance, and he refused to sign. Following his lead, Philip Ann, Caitlin Zamir, and Elizabeth Malecki also declined the new contract. Now, I'm going to talk about the many lawsuits filed against Mortal Kombat from the actors. The first person to take legal action against Mortal Kombat's publishers was Ho Sung Pak. If you recall, he played Liu Kang and Shang Tsung in the original game and reprised his role as Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 2. Like many of his fellow performers, Pak was unhappy with Midway's terms, but he was the first to file a lawsuit. In the spring of 1994, Pak sued Williams Electronic Gaming Inc., Midway Manufacturing Company, Nintendo of America, and Sega of America in Chicago's Cook County Court. His case was similar to Daniel Pesina's. He argued that the gaming industry had violated the work-for-hire agreement he had signed by allowing Acclaim to use his likeness in the home console versions of Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2 without his consent. Furthermore, Acclaim had licensed these ports to Sega and Nintendo, again without Pak's approval. Through his attorneys, Pak sought damages for the unauthorized use of his performances and requested that Chauncey Court Judge Everett A. Braden blocked the release of Mortal Kombat 2's home versions, which were scheduled to launch in September. On paper, Pac had a strong case. A decorated martial artist, he held a black belt in Kung Fu, won the Professional Karate League's national championship 3 times, and earned the North American Sports Karate Association Gold Ring Award. He was even inducted into the Black Belt Hall of Fame alongside legends like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. Despite the evidence presented, the defendants opted to settle with Pac, making him, as far as I can tell, the only performer who actually reached a settlement. Now let's talk about Daniel Pesina, the man behind Johnny Cage, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Reptile, Smoke, and Noob Saibot. He was the second performer to take legal action against Midway. While the first Mortal Kombat was a hit, it was the success of Mortal Kombat 2 that made Pesina feel he deserved a bigger cut. His contract stated he would be paid hourly, but according to Pesina, Midway's higher-ups had assured him that they would take care of him. If the game became a success, and it did for beyond expectations, the arcade cabinets sold in massive numbers, and the home console ports performed even better. As I mentioned in my last video, Mortal Kombat 2 became the highest selling arcade game in 1994. With those numbers in mind, Pesina grew concerned about his compensation and ultimately decided to take legal action. In an article I was able to find online about Daniel Pesina, he stated, "Some of the actors started asking, 'Hey, you guys promised you'd take care of us.' We signed an agreement which was literally one paragraph. John Tobias was like, 'Don't worry, these guys are not a-holes. Don't worry about it. They're gonna take care of you.' And I was like, oh, okay." According to Pesina's contract, he was paid $50 per hour for his work on the first Mortal Kombat, earning around $3,000 to $4,000 in total, and received a raise to $75 per hour for Mortal Kombat 2, where he estimates he worked more hours than before. Had Mortal Kombat remained a small production, he felt his pay was fair, but when the franchise exploded in popularity, he believed he was owed more. Pesina formally sued Midway, Williams, Acclaim, Nintendo, and Sega, alleging they had used his persona, name, and likeness without authorization in the home console versions of Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2, as well as related merchandise. His complaint also accused Midway of breaching their duty of good faith and fair dealing. However, the court ruled in favor of the defendants. They determined that Pesina's likeness wasn't recognizable enough in the game to support his claim, citing a survey where only 6% of 306 people believed he resembled his in-game character. Additionally, the court ruled that he wasn't a well-known celebrity, meaning the games didn't violate his right of publicity. Finally, his existing contract prevented him from arguing that he had been improperly compensated. In the end, Pesina's 20 lawyers stood no chance against the 2,000 attorneys representing the gaming companies. But there may have been another reason for the fallout between Midway and Pesina. Though he himself denies it, I'll let you decide if you believe him after hearing this. In 1994, Pesina became involved in a marketing campaign for Bloodstorm, a fighting game developed by Chicago-based Incredible Technologies. The game, designed to compete with Mortal Kombat, pushed the boundaries of violence even further, letting players continue fighting with their intestines hanging out after being sliced in half. It also included references to other games and developers, hidden secrets and cheat codes, some revealed in gaming magazines, an early save system for arcades, and even a phone number in the credits where players could call for a chance to appear in a hypothetical sequel. However, Bloodstorm is often remembered less for its gameplay and more for a controversial print advertisement featuring Pesina. In the ad, Pesina, fully dressed as Johnny Cage, helped promote the game, directly attacking Mortal Kombat. Thanks to a loophole in his contract, Midway had no legal claim to stop him from participating. So, was this the real reason Midway cut ties with Pesina? He says no, but after hearing this, do you believe him? The ad read, "Daniel Pesina, who starred as Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat, has switched to Bloodstorm." Daniel Pesina liked to believe it was the fans who were heartbroken more than Midway. According to John Tobias, he stated, "Danny was never fired because he wasn't an employee. Everyone had kind of went their separate ways by the time I remember seeing the Bloodstorm ad. Interestingly, Pesina wasn't the only one from Mortal Kombat involved with Bloodstorm. His brother Carlos, the actor behind Raiden, also participated. Because of this, he was blacklisted from the next Mortal Kombat entry. Keep that in mind, because when we start discussing the first version of Mortal Kombat 3, you'll notice something. Now, on to yet another lawsuit. This time it involved Elizabeth Malecki, the actress who portrayed Sonya Blade. Her case was filed jointly with Philip Ahn, who played the younger Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 2, and Caitlyn Zamir, who portrayed Kitana, Melina, and Jade. Together, they sued for damages, arguing that Midway and other companies owe much of the success of Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2 to the contributions of the performers. Their lawsuit sought quantum meruit, compensation for work not explicitly covered in their contracts, particularly regarding the console versions of the games. As with the previous cases, lawyers gathered depositions and evidence to build their arguments, but unlike Ho Sung Pak's case, which resulted in a settlement, this lawsuit took a different turn. After reviewing the depositions and filings, Midway and other defendants requested a summary judgment. They argued that their evidence was so overwhelming that there was no need for a jury to decide the case. In other words, they believed the lawsuit was open and shut. Attorneys for both sides presented their arguments before their respective judges. The key issue was whether the actor's right of publicity had been violated. This right protests an individual from having their name or likeness used without authorization. As Judge Bucklow explained, in her opinion, the plaintiff claiming the infringement of this right must show that prior to the defendant's use, the plaintiff's name, likeness, or persona had commercial value. That's where the actors ran into trouble. Since they were the only ones making the claim, they had to prove that their names and likeness held value before their involvement with Mortal Kombat. But they couldn't. Their attorneys failed to produce any evidence that their clients were publicly recognized figures prior to the game's release. Meanwhile, the defendants had data to back their case. Judge Gentleman reached the same conclusion as Judge Bucklow. He pointed out that the release form signed by Ahn, Malecki, and Zamir explicitly granted Midway permission to use their martial arts performances and likeness in connection with the manufacture, design, advertising, promotion, sale, and use of the coin-operated video games. That phrase, coin-operated video games, became a key point in the actor's argument for additional compensation from home console sales. However, just like Daniel Pesina, Ahn, Malecki, and Zamir failed to provide any evidence to support their claims. When they argued that Midway had induced them into signing the agreements, even their own attorneys admitted they had no proof. So, as it turned out, much of the original Mortal Kombat cast, along with some actors from Mortal Kombat 2, clashed with Bally Midway over unpaid royalties. With that legal battle behind us, we could finally talk about Mortal Kombat 3. The same core development team from the previous games reunited, this time with a few new additions. Among them was David Mikitich, who joined as a graphic designer, Steve Berwin, an additional artist contributing to the game's visual direction. By this point, after 2 successful entries, Midway had thrown its full weight behind the Mortal Kombat team, providing them with more resources than ever before. With Mortal Kombat 3, they wanted to go bigger and better, just like any third entry in a franchise should. Their vision extended beyond Earth, taking the game to different realms and pushing the boundaries of what was possible at the time. You can tell that this game was made with a lot of love and passion. Every detail from the expanded roster to the ambitious environments reflected a team that wanted to take Mortal Kombat to the next level.
Whose idea was Mortal Kombat?
Well, that's what I thought me. The initial idea, I woke up, just wanted to
My name is David Mikitich, and I'm a graphic artist.
My name's Dan Ford, and I do sounds and music. And tell people.
My name is Ed Boone. I'm co-designer and programmer.
My name's Tony Goski, and I do backgrounds and special effects.
John Vogel, backgrounds and special effects.
John Tobias, and co-designer and lead artist.
Steve Baran, and I'm a video artist.
Our motto in Williams is always that reality is boring. Nobody wants to pay for reality. We take everything beyond reality to the point where it's, the only way to do this is through our video game.
It's the perfect blending of everything. I mean, the game is fun to play. It's got good graphics, and it's got a decent backstory to it.
It's easy to come up with the ideas, anybody can come up with ideas for games and stuff, but it's to actually convert something from an idea in your head into reality, into something that is a sellable product. That's where the challenge is.
This is sort of the very first concept of the story. This guy here eventually became Shang Tsung.
The mystique and all that whole feeling of it was really the foundation of that. Was really what John Tobias kind of envisioned.
One thing Mortal Kombat does for all of us is it puts you in a mood or puts you in a setting where you're sort of able to create things that are surreal. Mortal Kombat 1 took place more, on an earthly environment, in an Asian type of setting. In part 2, we knew that we were going to send our characters to sort of a different world, and so the door was completely open for us to kind of interpret that in any way we wanted.
Due to the lawsuits, many new actors were brought in for the next installment. Eddie Wong stepped in as the new Liu Kang. John Turk took over the roles of Sub-Zero and Shang Tsung. Rich DeVizio, who previously played Baraka and Kano, returned, but this time he also portrayed Noob Saibot. The biggest new addition, Sonya Blade, now played by Carrie Hoskins. For many Mortal Kombat fans, she became the definitive version of the character. Just take a look at this.
I don't know if I should be telling you this, but I'm going to show you a move, okay? Listen. You can go back, forward, back, and then down, and then push the run button. And if you do that really fast, I'll be your friend forever. I started out with NBA Jam as a cheerleader, and then I went to Revolution X as Mr. Sahelga, and they asked me to do Mortal Kombat. They needed a new Sonya. I said, sure, I'd love to do it.
To further promote Mortal Kombat 3 and showcase just how massive the franchise was becoming, Midway organized a 200-city live tour called the Mortal Kombat Live Tour. This traveling stage show ran from September 1995 to February 1996. The show featured performers replicating iconic Mortal Kombat martial arts moves and special attacks live on stage, all set to music and choreographed dance sequences. Pre-recorded voiceovers and sound effects were used to bring the experience to life, though unsurprisingly, the show omitted the graphic violence and fatalities that defined the games. The plot revolved around 3 fighters setting out on a mission to rescue their friends and retrieve a magic amulet from Shao Kahn to save Earth. While it might not have had the brutal action fans loved, Mortal Kombat Live Tour demonstrated just how far the franchise cultural influence had spread beyond the arcade.
Pretty tough crowd you hang with.
Yes, they are.
That is just a preview of the show that you'll be able to catch, and it is coming into the Southland. It's called Mortal Kombat. Let me, first of all, start by having you introduce yourself and the cast of characters behind you here.
My name is Shang Tsung.
All right. And starting over here?
Sub-Zero to my left. Kano, Scorpion, Sonya Blade, Liu Kang, Baraka, and Cabal.
Tell us a little bit about the show and what do you expect kids to get from this? I mean, the video's already come under a little bit of criticism for some of the violence. This is a pretty wild act.
Yes, it is. The show is based on a martial art aspect of the video game, Mortal Kombat. And it's already been to a movie, and now we're doing the live tour. It's been under, the violence has always been around, but what martial arts and this show has to present is all positive messages.
What sort of positive messages?
Well, it helps children be able to be concerned about violence and the difference between martial arts and violence. It helps them to be positive. It helps them to be able to overcome any obstacles which is in their life and to be able to attain goals. It helps them to commit to good things in their lives.
And the show has also joined forces now with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society Readathon. Tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, we're definitely proud to be part of MS and to help combat it. And we do that through the proceeds that we make at the live tour, as well as with this program of readathons that we're doing. And this helps spread awareness, and helps to overcome illiteracy.
Okay, these guys obviously have been working for a long time. There it is. You can see it on the graphic right now, the Mortal Kombat Live Tour. Those are the places where it's going to be shown. Can you give me a little demonstration? Can I learn something here?
You sure can.
All right.
Call Sonya Blade up.
I'm glad you did. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay. Oh, you're going to hold on to the microphone here? Okay. Now,
all I want you to do.
I look at that is the ultimate six-pack of a stomach. That's like an 8-pack there. You're not even okay.
Hey, Mark, I'm not asking you to look at her.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is what happens when you try to go for her neck.
Okay.
Try to reach for her neck and grab with both hands.
Okay. Oh, yikes. Okay, yikes. Yeah.
We'll let you live.
Okay, thank you. I get to live this time. You might want to check it out. Like we said, it's coming to the pond, and it is also coming to the Great Western Forum. There it is once again, Saturday, October 21st, the live tour at the Arrowhead Pond, Sunday, October 22nd, 1 to 5 p.m. Tickets available at Ticketmaster, 213-480-3232. You also, in the show, reveal some secrets for people who are playing Mortal Kombat. Is that not right? You can find out secrets of how to go on further in the video game?
Definitely so, and that's only going to be shown as they come watch the live tour.
Okay, Sonya, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for quite a while.
Yeah, now, what are you, karate or what form?
I started in gymnastics and I went into boxing, and now it's Tang-Soo-Do.
Okay, thank you very much. Mortal Kombat, check it out. We'll be back with more right after this.
Understand, there are 3 different versions attached to this number entry. The first was Mortal Kombat 3. This game would be released in arcades in April of 1995. Commercially, the game was a hit, but critically, something was missing. Fans weren't impressed with the roster. In the Next Gen magazine, it was stated that die-hard Mortal Kombat fans will probably be disappointed to find that many of their favorite characters from Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, Baraka, Raiden, and Kitana, to name a few, have been replaced by newer characters that don't show the same appeal and strength of design as their predecessors. This article was referencing to the game porting over for the PC, and in the same article it stated, while Mortal Kombat 3 may have been a disappointment in the arcades to some folks, this version of the game is one of the best fighting titles ever released for the PC. Now, if we take a look at the roster for Mortal Kombat 3, we have the following characters: Jax, Kano, Kung Lao, Liu Kang, Noob Saibot, Shang Tsung, Smoke, Sonya Blade, Sub-Zero, Cyrax, Cabal, Nightwolf, Sector, Shiva, Sindel, and Curtis Stryker. Notice anything missing? A true fan favorite, Scorpion, is absent. Along with him, Raiden and Johnny Cage are nowhere to be seen. And if you watch my last video, you'll remember that Kitana and Mileena were also fan favorites, but they didn't make it into this game either. Due to the ongoing lawsuits against Midway over royalties, all these characters were cut, which ultimately affected the reception of the very first home port of Mortal Kombat 3. But while we're highlighting some of the franchise's shortcomings, let's take a moment to focus on a highlight from this era. Interestingly, Mortal Kombat the movie would hit theaters in the summer of 1995, and surprise everyone, the film debuted at #1 at the box office during its opening weekend, pulling in $23.2 million and outperforming other films released at that time. While Midway's higher-ups were initially skeptical about the movie, it proved to be both a financial success and, in today's time, a cult classic. In an interview, John Tobias reflected on the film and his lack of direct involvement. However, he admitted to being impressed, stating, "We were always focused on the game, so we missed some of that excitement. We got mostly good vibes from the folks working on the first film. We had to kind of keep faith in what they were doing, especially after the Street Fighter movie debacle. I thought the first film did a lot of things right in capturing the mood of our games. I think that because of the way we told our story in the game, we created a real hunger in the player to see that story told in an expositional way, and the best medium to do that is film. It was then and still is today. Nowadays, games choose to do that stuff in a cutscene exposition, and so I feel it kind of makes film adaptation redundant. Since I spoke on the film in my last video, I wanted it to come full circle in this video. Now let's get back to Mortal Kombat 3. Now we're all aware MK3 had a mixed bag of reception due to its release. In the same interview, Tobias spoke about the film. He also spoke on behalf of the game when he was asked. The abandonment of icons like Scorpion and Katana ultimately provoked revisions to the MK3 game. What was the impetus for leaving them out, and did you feel it was the right move to add them back in? Tobias responded, actually leaving them out had nothing to do with provoking Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was done to appease arcade operators and make up for the sooner than usual release of Mortal Kombat 3's home version by keeping the arcade version fresh. On November 6, 1995, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was released. This game served as an update to Mortal Kombat 3, addressing some of the criticisms from fans. This version brought back Jade, the secret character from Mortal Kombat 2, along with Katana and Mileena, all now played by Becky Gable. Scorpion and Reptile also made their return, this time portrayed by John Turk. Meanwhile, Smoke was played by Sal DeVita. Compared to the original release of Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was much better received as it brought back several fan favorite characters, according to an article from IGN. Before the end of the year, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 had hit arcades, and it was on its way home. In addition to character tweaks made to help balance the game and improvements to the spotty AI, they brought back the greatly missed ninjas, Katana, Mileena, Scorpion, and Reptile, joined by Jade, who was an unplayable secret character in the second title. The revision helped to win over some frustrated fans, but followers of Johnny Cage, Raiden, and Baraka remained perturbed. Now, keep in mind, we are in 1995 and technology was advancing. A lot of people began jumping to the Sony PlayStation, where hardware was better. Keep in mind, Mortal Kombat 3 was released for the Sony PlayStation, but Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 didn't get the same treatment for its home console release. According to Ed Boon, the team at Midway wanted to do something special for releasing an updated version of Mortal Kombat 3 for the Sony PlayStation. Thus, the team decided to release Mortal Kombat Trilogy. This version would have every character ever released up to Mortal Kombat 3. Surprisingly, players got to experience Raiden, Baraka, Johnny Cage, although Johnny Cage would be played by another actor, not Daniel Pesina. This game would be the final version of Mortal Kombat 3, released on October 11, 1996.
1995 saw the release of Mortal Kombat 3 with a diverse cast of characters, crisp graphics, and an intricate combo system.
Reality's boring. Nobody wants to pay for reality. We take everything beyond reality to the point where it's, the only way to do this is through our video game.
It was around this time that Hollywood smelled box office potential in the franchise.
We were very happy with the first film. We had seen it throughout its entire production. It turned out to be a really, really fun film. It's easy to come up with the ideas, anybody can come up with ideas for games and stuff, but it's to actually convert something from an idea in your head into reality, into something that is a sellable product. That's where the challenge is.
Mortal Kombat was unstoppable.
Here's a quick spoiler alert as I'm about to tell the story behind Mortal Kombat 3. There will also be light spoilers from Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2. Now, if you're not a fan of spoilers, please advance the video to the gameplay overview section as seen on the timeline below. Let's dive into this. Okay, so unlike Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3 does not have a comic book adaptation, so I gathered what I can from the game to try and piece together the story as much as possible. The backstory of Mortal Kombat 3 is a tale of invasion, resurrection, and the struggle for Earth's survival. After losing 2 consecutive Mortal Kombat tournaments, Shao Kahn, the Emperor of Outworld, devises a cunning plan that has been in the making for 10,000 years. Shao Kahn's plan revolves around resurrecting his deceased queen Sindel. He orders his shadow priest, led by the sorcerer Shang Tsung, to revive Sindel, not in Outworld, but in Earthrealm. Shao Kahn's decision to revive Sindel was a cunning strategic move that allowed him to bypass the rules set by the Elder Gods and invade Earthrealm. This plan was clever for several reasons. Firstly, by resurrecting Sindel in Earthrealm rather than Outworld, Shao Kahn created a legal loophole. Since Sindel was technically his wife, he could claim the right to reunite with her, giving him a pretext to enter Earthrealm without winning the required 10 consecutive Mortal Kombat tournaments. This exploitation of what some sources describe as an inter-realm marital immigration law demonstrated Shao Kahn's ability to manipulate even divine regulations to his advantage. Secondly, Sindel's resurrection served to break a powerful magical ward. In one version of the story, Sindel's self-deletion had cast a protective spell over Earthrealm, preventing Shao Kahn from entering. By reviving her, this magical barrier was nullified, opening the way for his invasion. This showcases Shao Kahn's understanding of magical dynamics and his willingness to use them to further his conquests. Lastly, the revival of Sindel added a formidable warrior to Shao Kahn's forces. As a powerful combatant and sorceress, Sindel became a valuable asset in his invasion plans. Additionally, her presence created emotional turmoil among Earthrealm defenders, particularly for Kitana, adding a psychological warfare element to Shao Kahn's strategy. As a result of this merger, billions of Earthrealm souls are instantly stripped away, with only a few being spared due to Raiden's protection. Raiden, the god of thunder and protector of Earthrealm, can no longer directly interfere as Earth is now partially merged with Outworld. Shao Kahn unleashes extermination squads to eliminate any survivors on Earth. The remaining humans are scattered across the planets, fighting for survival. Raiden's protection only extends to the souls of his chosen warriors, not their physical bodies, forcing them to fight against Shao Kahn's forces. These chosen few represent Earth's last hope in a new Mortal Kombat to save humankind. Meanwhile, other events unfold. Liu Kang, the champion of the previous tournaments, becomes the prime target of Shao Kahn's extermination squads. He begins training a new generation of Shaolin warriors alongside Kung Lao to prepare for the invasion. The Lin Kuei clan starts converting their human ninjas into cyber assassins. Sub-Zero refuses to participate and is marked for death by his own clan. Smoke is captured and automated along with Sector and Cyrax, programmed to hunt down Sub-Zero. Jax embarks on a rescue mission to save Sonya Blade, who went missing after the first tournament. He finds her held captive with Kano, and freeing Sonya, Jax inadvertently allows Kano to escape, who then joins Shao Kahn's forces. With Earth now under siege and particularly merged with Outworld, the chosen warriors must fight to repel Shao Kahn's invasion, restore their realm, and save what remains of humanity. The canonical ending of Mortal Kombat 3 centers around Liu Kang's victory over Shao Kahn. As the reigning Mortal Kombat champion, Liu Kang proves to be the primary target of Shao Kahn's extermination squads, but manages to defeat them easily. The apparent death of his friend Kung Lao fuels Liu Kang's rage, giving him the strength to ultimately defeat Shao Kahn. After besting Shao Kahn's invasion and saving both Earthrealm and Outworld, Liu Kang is greeted by Princess Kitana, who thanks him for his heroic deeds. This encounter occurs just before the portal between the realms closed. The defeat of Shao Kahn results in the restoration of every human soul on Earthrealm, effectively undoing the damage caused by the invasion. This outcome sets the stage for future conflicts in the series, as the threat of Outworld invasion remains a constant danger to Earthrealm. Okay, now that we understand the story and backstory behind Mortal Kombat 3, let's take a deeper look into it. Mortal Kombat 3 represents a significant shift in the series' narrative and thematic focus compared to its predecessors. While the first two games centered around a tournament structure, MK3 breaks away from this format to tell a story of invasion and survival. While the game still has you fight 2 rounds and fatality, the story doesn't have an official tournament. The deeper meaning behind Mortal Kombat 3 lies in its exploration of choice, fate, and consequences of one's actions. The game's storyline forces characters to confront their loyalties and make difficult decisions in the face of an existential threat. This is evident in Sub-Zero's refusal to be automated to the Cyber Lin Kuei, Kapal's quest for revenge, and Nightwolf's guilt over not preventing the invasion. These personal struggles add depth to the characters and highlight the theme of individual agency in the face of overwhelming odds, something we'll get deeper into when I get into character analysis. Mortal Kombat 3 also explores themes of technological advancement and its potential dangers, particularly through the Lin Kuei controversial decision to automate their assassins. This subplot raises thought-provoking questions about the nature of humanity and the ethical implications of merging man and machine. Unlike the earlier games, which focus more on mystical elements and traditional martial art philosophies, MK3 introduces a more cybernetic dystopian tone. In the previous game's tie-in comic, the Lin Kuei were depicted as highly trained assassins, bound by loyalty and tradition, but at MK3 the clan shifts its focus, abandoning emotion in favor of cold, calculated efficiency. They no longer value individual thought, they demand absolute obedience. We see this tension embodied in Sub-Zero, who, unlike his fellow clan members, still holds on to his humanity. In Mortal Kombat 2's lore, Sub-Zero carried the weight of his brother's fate on his shoulders, showing a deep sense of compassion, but now he's being forced to relinquish his free will, entirely a stark contrast to the warrior we once knew. The game's setting, which takes place during an active invasion rather than a controlled tournament, creates a sense of urgency and raises the stakes for all characters involved. This shift in context allows for a more complex narrative that explores the consequences of past events and decisions made in previous games. Unlike its predecessors, Mortal Kombat 3 also touches on themes of redemption and the possibility of change. Characters like Reptile and Baraka are given opportunities to choose different paths, highlighting the idea that one's nature can potentially overcome their circumstances. This addition adds a layer of moral complexity that was less prominent in the more straightforward good versus evil narratives of the earlier games. In essence, Mortal Kombat 3 elevates the series from a simple fighting game with a tournament backdrop to a more nuanced exploration of character motivations, ethical dilemmas, and the far-reaching consequences of cosmic conflicts. This deeper narrative approach sets the stage for the franchise's future development and its ability to maintain relevance in the evolving landscape of video game storytelling. Now that I covered the story, let's spend this next time talking about the characters. Now understand, this game had 3 different releases. There was Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Now, in Mortal Kombat 3, the new characters added were Sindel, who was Shao Kahn's deceased wife he resurrected on Earthrealm so he can invade, Stryker, another police officer added to the Mortal Kombat roster, Smoke, who made his first appearance in Mortal Kombat 2 as a secret boss and in the comic now a cybernetic Lin Kuei droid, Cyrax, who was another Lin Kuei assassin that got the cybernetic droid treatment, Sector, yet another Lin Kuei assassin who was turned into a cyborg, Nightwolf, a Native American hero, historian, and shaman, Shiva, another Shao Kahn warrior who was handpicked by Shao Kahn to protect his wife Sindel. The last new character added in this version of the game was Kabal, a victim of Shao Kahn's invasion. He is kept alive by a respirator and seeks revenge. The sub-boss in this game is Montaro, a Centaurian warrior. The returning characters of Mortal Kombat 3 was Shang Tsung, Jax, Kano, Liu Kang, Sonya, Sub-Zero, and Kung Lao. Due to the lack of fan-favorite characters, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 will be released. There will be a few new characters in this game. First would be Jade. In Mortal Kombat 2, she was a secret boss character. In this game, she has more motivations, being conflicted by her friendship to Kitana and loyalty to Shao Kahn. The other new character added was Ermac. On surface, a red ninja, but in depth, he is a life force brought together by the souls of distinguished Outworld warriors. In this game, the new characters would be Noob Saibot. Now, in retrospect, we know who he really is, but this true identity is not revealed in this entry. Instead, we learn here that he is just a NetherRealm warrior that is spying on the events taking place during the invasion. Rain, a purple ninja on the surface, but he is truly a traitor from Kitana's world of Edenia. The characters that returned in this entry that weren't in Mortal Kombat 3 was Kitana, Reptile, Scorpion, Jade, Mileena, and Classic Sub-Zero. Now, of course, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 didn't make an appearance on the Sony PlayStation. We would get Mortal Kombat Trilogy, a game that would combine all characters in one entry, including bosses. Now let's look at the only new character added in Trilogy. Chameleon, a character that represents a mix of all ninjas whose story I don't fully understand, but I'll try my best to break it down later. Returning characters that were excluded in other games was Johnny Cage, Baraka, and Raiden. Another character that made an appearance here was Classic Smoke. For the first time since Mortal Kombat 2, we were able to play as bosses. These were Emperor Shao Kahn, Prince Goro, Motaro, and Kintaro. Now that we laid the groundwork, it's time to speak on each of these characters, starting with the newly added. Keep in mind, some of their endings may not be canon, but it does speak to their character. Let's start with Sindel, a complex character with a tragic backstory and pivotal role in the game's narrative. Her character analysis reveals several intriguing aspects of her personality and significance within the Mortal Kombat universe. Initially presented as an antagonist, Sindel's character embodies the theme of manipulation and loss of agency. As the resurrected queen of Outworld, she's portrayed as a powerful and menacing figure, her evil intentions serving Shao Kahn's ambitions. This depiction highlights the concept of how individuals can be used as pawns in larger power struggles. However, Sindel's true nature is revealed to be far more nuanced. Her backstory of being a former ruler of Endynia, married to Jared, and mother to Katana adds depth to her character. This history suggests that Sindel was once a benevolent leader, forcibly separated from her true identity and family. The 10,000-year gap between her death and resurrection emphasizes the tragic nature of her fate and the long-reaching consequences of Shao Kahn's actions. The character's ending in Mortal Kombat 3 introduces themes of redemption and self-discovery. As Sindel receives visions of her true past, she undergoes a transformation from a mind-controlled villain to a liberated hero. This arc symbolizes the power of truth and memory in overcoming manipulation and false identities. Her decision to turn against Shao Kahn demonstrates her inherent strength of character and ability to break free from bondage. Now let's turn our attention to Curtis Stryker. He represents a unique addition to the franchise as an ordinary human law enforcement officer thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Stryker embodies the theme of an everyday hero rising to face supernatural threats. As a leader of the Riot Control Barrage, he symbolizes order and protection in a world descending into chaos. His initial confusion about being spared from soul-stealing highlights the sudden collision between his mundane reality and the mystical world of Mortal Kombat. The character's journey from lone survivor to Earth's defender illustrates themes of adaptability and resilience. Stryker's transition from maintaining civil order to combating interdimensional threats showcases his ability to rise to unprecedented challenges. This arc resonates with the idea that ordinary individuals can become extraordinary heroes when faced with extreme circumstances. Stryker's skepticism and initial reluctance to accept his new role add depth to his character. His eventual acceptance of the mission given by Raiden demonstrates personal growth and the embracing of a higher purpose. This transformation from a city protector to a world savior expands the scope of his responsibility and character development. The character's background in law enforcement and use of conventional weapons like guns and batons in the world of mystical powers creates an interesting contrast. This juxtaposition highlights the theme of technology versus magic that runs through the Mortal Kombat series. Stryker's ultimate victory over Shao Kahn in his ending, despite being an unfair opponent, underscores the themes of underestimation and the power of human determination. His triumph represents the potential for humanity to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds through courage and adaptability. Now, let's look at the 3 cybernetic Lin Kuei warriors. Starting with Smoke. His character in Mortal Kombat 3 represents a significant evolution from his initial appearance as a secret boss character in Mortal Kombat 2. In this installment, Smoke is given a more substantial narrative role, adding depth and complexity to his character. Originally introduced as a mysterious, smoke-shrouded ninja, Smoke's backstory is greatly expanded in Mortal Kombat 3. He's revealed to be a member of the Lin Kuei clan, alongside his friend Sub-Zero. This connection to an established character immediately gives Smoke more relevance within the game's universe. The narrative of his attempted escape from the Lin Kuei Cybernetic Initiative with Sub-Zero adds a layer of tragedy to his character, as he is ultimately captured and forcibly transformed into the cyborg unit LK-72. The concept of Smoke as a cyborg introduces themes of loss of identity and the struggle between man and machine. His bio states that his memories were stripped away, leaving him behind an emotionless killer. However, the suggestion that human soul remains trapped within the machine creates an intriguing internal conflict. This duality with Smoke's character adds depth and pathos, making him more than just another enemy to defeat. Smoke's ending in Mortal Kombat 3 further develops his character arc. It reveals that despite his programming, Smoke retains some essence of his former self. His realization that he still has a soul and his decision to fight against Shao Kahn's forces demonstrate a level of free will and heroism. This transformation from potential villain to unexpected hero adds an element of redemption to Smoke's story. The tragedy of Smoke's situation is underscored by the ending's final note that he remains forever trapped in his artificial body. This bittersweet conclusion adds emotional weight to his character, making him more relatable and sympathetic to players. Next up, we got Cyrax, who, as portrayed in Mortal Kombat 3, represents a complex character that embodies themes of technological advancement, loss of humanity, and the ethical dilemmas of artificial intelligence. As Unit LK-4D4, Cyrax is a product of the Lin Kuei Cyber Initiative, showcasing the clan's shift towards mechanization in pursuit of creating more efficient assassins. The character's backstory highlights the loss of individuality and free will. Once a human ninja, Cyrax's transformation into a cybernetic warrior strips him of his soul and personal identity. This aspect of his character raises questions about the nature of consciousness and the ethical implications of creating sentient machines programmed for violence. Cyrax's primary directive to hunt down Sub-Zero demonstrates the ruthless efficiency of the Lin Kuei's programming. However, his inability to be detected by Shao Kahn due to his soulless nature adds an intriguing layer to his character, positioning him as a wild card in the conflict between Earthrealm and Outworld. The character's ending in Mortal Kombat 3 further explores themes of reprogramming and the malleability of artificial intelligence. Sub-Zero's ability to reprogram Cyrax highlights the character's lack of agency and raises questions about the nature of loyalty and free will with artificial beings. Cyrax's successful deletion of Shao Kahn underscores the potential advantages of his cybernetic nature in combat situations. However, the conclusion of Cyrax's ending presents a poignant commentary on the limitations of artificial intelligence. His malfunction and aimless wandering in the desert after completing his mission illustrate the potential pitfalls of creating beings with narrow, specific purposes. This scenario touches on themes of obsolescence and the need for continuous guidance in artificial systems. Now, let's talk about Sector, the last of the newly added Lin Kuei warriors. He is a complex character that embodies the themes of technological advancement and loss of humanity. As Unit LK-199, Sector is the first of 3 prototype cybernetic ninjas created by the Lin Kuei clan. His transformation from a human assassin to a robotic warrior represents the clan's controversial shift towards automation. Sector's voluntary participation in the cybernetic initiative demonstrates his unwavering loyalty to the Lin Kuei. This dedication, however, comes at the cost of his humanity and free will. The process of becoming a cyborg strips Sector of his soul, making him an emotionless and efficient deleting machine. This aspect of his character raises questions about the nature of identity and the ethical implications of sacrificing one's humanity for perceived advancement. The character's primary directive to terminate the rogue ninja Sub-Zero showcased the Lin Kuei's ruthless efficiency and their intolerance for disloyalty. Sector's pursuit of Sub-Zero adds a layer of conflict to the game's narrative, pitting former clan members against each other and exploring themes of betrayal and the consequences of resisting authority. Interestingly, Sector's soulless nature allows him to go undetected by Shao Kahn during the invasion of Earthrealm. This unique characteristic positions Sector as a wild card in the conflict between realms, potentially making him a threat to Shao Kahn's occupation of Earth. This aspect of his character adds an element of unpredictability to the game's storyline and highlights the potential advantages of his cybernetic nature. Nightwolf emerges as a unique and culturally significant character, embodying themes of heritage preservation, spiritual connection, and the struggle for indigenous rights. As a historian and preserver of his people's culture, Nightwolf represents the importance of maintaining cultural identity in the face of external threats. His role in protecting his tribe's sacred land from Shao Kahn's invasion demonstrates Nightwolf's deep connection to his heritage and commitment to safeguarding it. This aspect of his character highlights the often overlooked importance of indigenous lands and their spiritual significance. By making this area a vital threat to Kahn's occupation, Nightwolf elevates the status of Native American culture within the game's narrative. His ending in Mortal Kombat 3 presents a powerful narrative of reclamation and leadership. By helping other Earth warriors and ultimately defeating Shao Kahn, Nightwolf not only saves the world, but also secures a future for his people. The peaceful regaining of lost Native American lands and the establishment of a proud nation speak to the themes of justice, restoration, and the potential for indigenous leadership on a global scale. Kabal emerges as an interesting and enigmatic character in Mortal Kombat 3, embodying themes of redemption, survival, and the pursuit of justice. Initially introduced as a mysterious chosen warrior, Kabal's true identity is shrouded in secrecy, adding to the air of intrigue to his character. Kabal's backstory is one of transformation and resilience. As a survivor of Shao Kahn's brutal extermination squads, he bears the physical and emotional scars of his encounter, relying on artificial respirators to stay alive. This near-death experience serves as a catalyst for Kabal's character development, fueling his rage against Shao Kahn and his determination to end the Conqueror's reign. The character's journey from a life of crime to a force for good adds depth to his narrative. Once a member of the Black Dragon clan alongside Kano, Kabal's brush with death prompts a profound change in his moral compass. This transformation from villain to anti-hero demonstrates the game's exploration of redemption and the potential for change even in the face of a dark past. The character's ending in Mortal Kombat 3 solidifies his heroic turn. By defeating Motaro and Shao Kahn, Kabal not only achieves his personal vendetta, but also proves his worth as chosen warrior. This victory marks the completion of his transformation from a criminal to a champion of Earthrealm. Shiva emerges as a conflicted character embodying themes of loyalty, betrayal, and cultural pride. As a Shokan warrior of royal Draco lineage, Shiva initially pledges her life to Shao Kahn, serving as Queen Sindel's personal protector. This role highlights her strength and status within the Outworld hierarchy, as well as the trust placed in her by Shao Kahn. However, Shiva's loyalty is tested when Shao Kahn appoints Motaro, a centaur, as a leader of his extermination squads. This decision ignites Shiva's suspicion and paranoia, as the centaurs are long-standing enemies of the Shokan race. The conflict between her duty to Shao Kahn and her loyalty to her own people becomes a central aspect of her character, adding depth to her motivations and actions. Shiva's journey takes a dramatic turn when she learns of the punishment and defeat of her people at the hands of the centaurs, aided by Shao Kahn. This betrayal serves as a catalyst for her character development, transforming her from a loyal servant to a rebel fighting against her former master. Her decision to turn against Shao Kahn demonstrates her strong sense of justice and unwavering commitment to her race. The character's ending in Mortal Kombat 3 showcases her strength and determination. By defeating both Motaro and Shao Kahn, Shiva not only avenges her people, but also liberates Earth and Outworld. This act of heroism elevates her character beyond a mere warrior, positioning her as a leader capable of effecting change on a cosmic scale. Shiva's return to Outworld to restore the pride and respect of the Shokan race highlights her role as a cultural icon and leader. This aspect of her character adds depth to the Shokan lore, with the Mortal Kombat universe emphasizing the importance of heritage and racial identity in the face of oppression and betrayal. Now, this brings a close to the new characters added in the Mortal Kombat 3 release. Now we're going to look at the new characters from Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Ermac emerges as a mysterious and powerful character in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, embodying themes of collective consciousness and hidden potential. As being composed of multiple souls from fallen Outworld warriors, Ermac represents a unique fusion of identities and abilities, setting him apart from other figures in the roster. In this entry, the character's origins are shrouded in secrecy, adding an air of intrigue to his presence. Ermac's existence as a life force brought together by extinguished warriors suggests a complex internal struggle and a potential vast reservoir of knowledge and skills. This concept of multiple souls within one entity creates an interesting dynamic, hinting at internal conflicts and the possibility of immense untapped power. Shao Kahn's possession and control of Ermac highlight themes of manipulation and the exploitation of the dead. By using these collective souls to fight for tyranny, Shao Kahn demonstrates his ruthless and willingness to use any means necessary to achieve his goals. This aspect of Ermac's character adds a tragic dimension to his existence, as he is forced to serve against the potential wills of the souls that compose him. The character's ending in Ultimate MK3 adds another layer to his mystique. Having been hiding since the first Mortal Kombat tournament, Ermac uses his victory to prove his existence to both Earthrealm and Outworld. This revelation suggests a long-term strategy and patience, hinting at a deeper intelligence guiding his actions. The warning of his return as an unstoppable force in the fourth Mortal Kombat creates anticipation and positions Ermac as a potentially major player in future conflicts. The other new character to speak about that was a secret character in MK2 was Jade. Her evolution from a secret boss character in Mortal Kombat 2 to a fully playable fighter with her own storyline in Ultimate MK3 represents a significant development in her character depth and the importance within the Mortal Kombat lore. In this game, her backstory is fleshed out, revealing her as a childhood friend of Princess Kitana and a loyal assassin in Shao Kahn's court. This dual allegiance creates the central conflict in her character arc, the choice between her duty to Shao Kahn and her friendship with Kitana. Jade's internal struggle adds depth to her character, transforming her from a simple palette swap into a nuanced individual with her own agency. Her ultimate decision to side with Kitana against Shao Kahn demonstrates her strong moral compass and the value she places on friendship over blind loyalty to authority. This choice not only defines Jade's character, but also significantly impacts the overall narrative of the game. The development of Jade's unique fighting style further distinguishes her from other characters. While initially sharing moves with Kitana in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Jade regains her own set of special moves and fatalities. Her signature weapon becomes a metal staff, complemented by razor-edge boomerang, setting her apart from the fan-wielding Kitana. Jade's ending in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 solidifies her importance in the Mortal Kombat storyline. By assisting Kitana, defeating Shao Kahn, and helping to restore both Earth and Edenia, Jade establishes herself as a hero in her own right. This transformation from a mysterious secret character to a key player in the game's narrative represents a significant evolution in her character development. Moving on with Noob Saibot. Now understand, in later entries we get the true background of who Noob Saibot is, and in this game it's not revealed yet, so I won't uncover his true identity in this entry. He embodies themes of darkness, deception, and hidden agendas. As a being from the Netherrealm, the darkest region of reality, Noob Saibot represents the unknown and the ominous, adding a layer of intrigue to the game's roster. His affiliation with the Brothers of Shadow and worship of a fallen elder god immediately sets Noob Saibot apart as a character with complex loyalties and motivations. This background suggests a deeper mythology within the Mortal Kombat universe, hinting at power struggles and conflicts beyond the immediate tournament setting. Noob Saibot's role as a spy further emphasizes his nature as a shadowy, covert operative tasked with gathering intelligence on the ongoing battles between realms. His ending in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 reveals a multi-layer strategy at play. Initially positioned as a passive observer, Noob Saibot's true purpose is gradually unveiled. His orders to side with Shao Kahn demonstrate the long-term planning and manipulation occurring behind the scenes. This plot twist adds depth to Noob Saibot's character, showing him to be not just a mindless servant, but a key player in a complex power struggle. The ultimate goal of Noob Saibot's mission becomes instrumental in a plan that threatens to reshape the balance of power across multiple realms. This revelation transforms him from a mere mysterious fighter to a pivotal figure in the game's lore. Rain emerges as a unique and intriguing character embodying both a clever pop culture reference and an interesting narrative with the game's lore. Created by Ed Boon as a playful nod to the musician Prince and his iconic album Purple Rain, Rain appears as a purple-clad ninja. His origin as a joke character adds meta-humor to the game, demonstrating the developer's willingness to inject pop culture references into the game. Despite his inspiration, Rain's backstory is steeped in tragedy and political intrigue. Born in Edenia, he was smuggled away as a child during Shao Kahn's conquest of the realm. This early separation from his homeland sets the stage for Rain's complex relationship with his own identity and allegiances. His decision to align with Shao Kahn upon resurfacing thousands of years later reveals a character driven by self-preservation and pragmatism, choosing to side with the conqueror rather than face opposition. Rain's journey takes a dramatic turn when Princess Katana reveals the truth about his past. Learning that his father was an Indenian general deleted by Shao Kahn ignites a fierce desire for revenge within Rain. This revelation serves as a catalyst for his character development, transforming him from a loyal servant of Shao Kahn to a conflicted warrior seeking justice for his family and homeland. The eternal struggle between his survival instincts and his newfound sense of duty adds depth to his character. However, Rain's loyalties remain ambiguous, as evidenced by his mysterious disappearance during an extermination attack. This event casts doubt on his true allegiances, suggesting a character who may be playing both sides or harboring his own hidden agenda. Rain's decision to embark on a self-deletion mission to destroy Shao Kahn can be interpreted as either a genuine attempt to prove his loyalty or a calculated move in a larger scheme. Now let's break down the only new character added in Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Chameleon. Now keep in mind, if you play Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the PS1, you can't play as this character, but if you have the N64, it's a secret way to select him. With that being said, let me try to break down Chameleon. Chameleon's existence challenges the long-held belief that Reptile was the sole survivor of an extinct race. Her appearance not only expands the narrative surrounding the reptilian species, but also introduces a complex dynamic between her and Reptile. While they share a common ancestry, their allegiances differ dramatically, with Chameleon choosing to fight for Earthrealm against Shao Kahn's forces. As a playable character, Chameleon's fighting style is distinctive. She possesses the ability to mimic the moves of the game's other female ninjas, changing her color to match the ninja whose ability she's using. This unique gameplay mechanic reflects her chameleonic nature and adds an element of unpredictability to matches featuring her. Chameleon's ending in Mortal Kombat Trilogy provides a crucial backstory for her race, the Raptors. It reveals a history spanning millions of years, including their evolution of Earth, exodus to Zetira, and near extinction at the hands of Shao Kahn. This narrative not only enriches the game's lore, but also provides context for Chameleon's motivations and her decision to ally with Earthrealm. The character's role in potentially uniting with Reptile to defeat Shao Kahn and repopulate their species adds a layer of depth to her character. It suggests that despite her current allegiance to Earth, Chameleon's ultimate goal is the preservation and the restoration of her race, highlighting the complexity of her character beyond simple good versus evil dynamics. Now that we covered all the new playable characters, let's break down all the returning characters and the bosses in each game, starting with Johnny Cage, the character that made his triumphant return in Mortal Kombat Trilogy as he was missing. Johnny Cage's character evolution from the first Mortal Kombat game to Mortal Kombat Trilogy showcased significant growth and depth in transforming him from a cocky, self-centered actor to a heroic and selfless warrior. In the original Mortal Kombat, Johnny Cage was introduced as an arrogant Hollywood action star, seeking to prove his fighting skills were real. His initial motivation for joining the tournament was purely self-serving, to gain publicity and revive his failing career. This portrayal establishes him as a somewhat shallow character, focused primarily on fame and personal gain. As the series progressed, Johnny's character began to show more depth. In Mortal Kombat 2, while still maintaining his cocky attitude, he started to take threats to Earthrealm more seriously. His involvement in the fight against Outworld's invasion demonstrated a growth of sense and responsibility, and a commitment to a greater cause than himself. The most significant development in Johnny Cage's character arc occurs in Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Having been deleted by Outworld Extermination Squad, Johnny's soul is trapped between realms due to the merger of Earth and Outworld. This near-death experience profoundly impacts his character, giving him a new perspective on life and his role in the Battle Earthrealm survival. Johnny's resurrection and subsequent actions in Mortal Kombat Trilogy showcase his transformation to a true hero. Despite knowing that his survival is temporary and tied to the merger of the realms, he chooses to fight alongside his comrades. This decision highlights his growth from a self-centered individual to someone willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good. The culmination of Johnny's character development is evident in his ending for Mortal Kombat Trilogy, learning that his soul will pass on if they defeat Shao Kahn. Johnny doesn't hesitate to embark on a sacrificial mission to destroy the Emperor. This selfless act not only demonstrates his personal growth, but also inspires his fellow warriors, fueling their final assault against Shao Kahn. Moving on to Baraka. In Mortal Kombat 2, Baraka was introduced as a fierce Tarkatan warrior known for his unpredictable actions and wild fits of rage. He served as one of Shao Kahn's enforcers, primarily acting as a brutal combatant with little depth beyond his fighting prowess. His initial portrayal emphasized his savage nature and loyalty to Outworld's Emperor. As the series progressed to Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Baraka's character gained more nuance. His bio in Trilogy reveals that he was tasked with quelling an uprising in Outworld's lower regions, suggesting that he had risen in Shao Kahn's ranks to become a military leader. This development indicates his growth in strategic capabilities and importance within Outworld's hierarchy. Baraka's ending in Mortal Kombat Trilogy further demonstrates his character's evolution. It reveals a more cunning and self-preserving side to Baraka. His fear of Shao Kahn's retribution for his failures shows a level of self-awareness and political understanding that was not present in his earlier appearances. The fact that he remains loyal until Earth's forces are defeated, only then to turn on a weakened Shao Kahn, illustrates a capacity for long-term planning and opportunism. This character growth transforms Baraka from a simple brute into a more complex figure, capable of navigating the treacherous political landscape of Outworld. His decision to strike against Shao Kahn and then retreat to the nomadic ruins demonstrates both ambition and a connection to his roots, adding depth to his character. Now, Sonya Blade, who finally came back as a playable character as she was not available in Mortal Kombat 2. In the original Mortal Kombat, Sonya is introduced as a sole female fighter driven by her pursuit of the criminal Kano. Her initial motivation is personal, focused on bringing Kano to justice for deleting her partner. This portrayal establishes her as a strong, dedicated law enforcement officer with a specific mission. By Mortal Kombat 3, Sonya's character has developed significantly. Her experiences in the first tournament and subsequent events have broadened her perspective beyond her initial vendetta against Kano. She becomes aware of the larger threats facing Earthrealm, particularly from Outworld and Shao Kahn. Sonya's relationship with Jax deepens, evolving from superior subordinate to a strong partnership. Together they attempt to warn the US government about the impending Outworld invasion, demonstrating Sonya's growth to a more strategic thinker concerned with global threats rather than personal vendettas. Her confrontation with Kano atop a skyscraper near Shao Kahn's fortress in MK3 represents a culmination of her original arc. However, her subsequent face-off with Shao Kahn herself shows how far she's come, transitioning from a character focused on earthly crime to one capable of facing interdimensional threats. Sonya's victory over Shao Kahn and her subsequent establishment of the Outworld Investigation Agency highlight her evolution into a proactive defender of Earthrealm. This development showcases her growth from a reactive law enforcement officer to a visionary leader preparing for future otherworldly threats. Now, the Thunder God himself, Raiden. Now keep in mind, he was not available in Mortal Kombat 3 until Trilogy, due to the behind-the-scenes controversy with Carlos Pesina. In the original Mortal Kombat, Raiden was introduced as the God of Thunder and Lightning. This initial portrayal established Raiden as a powerful but somewhat aloof figure, operating within the constraints of his godhood. As the series progressed, Raiden's character began to show more direct involvement in Earthrealm's affairs. By Mortal Kombat 2, he took a more active role in combating the threats from Outworld, demonstrating a growth concern from the fate of the realm under his protection. This shift indicates a deepening connection between Raiden and the mortal world he was tasked with safeguarding. The most dramatic development in Raiden's character arc occurs in Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Faced with the merger of Earth and Outworld and the refusal of the Elder Gods to intervene, Raiden makes the extraordinary decision to transform himself into a mortal warrior. The sacrifice of his immortality and divine status represents a profound change in his character, showcasing his unwavering commitment to Earthrealm's protection and his willingness to risk everything for its sake. Raiden's choice to fight alongside mortal warriors as one of them demonstrates a significant evolution in his perspective. Now, Shang Tsung. In the original Mortal Kombat, Shang Tsung was introduced as the primary antagonist and the host of the tournament. He was portrayed as a powerful sorcerer with the ability to steal souls and shapeshift, serving as the final boss for players to overcome. This initial depiction established him as a formidable and mysterious villain, driven by his loyalty to Outworld and his own dark ambitions. By Mortal Kombat 3, Shang Tsung's character has developed significantly. His bio reveals that he had previously fallen out of favor with Shao Kahn after failing to win Earthrealm through tournament battle. However, his scheming nature and magical powers have made him instrumental in Kahn's new plan to conquer Earth. This demonstrates Tsung's resilience and ability to adapt, turning failure into an opportunity to regain power and influence. The granting of new powers by Shao Kahn and MK3 illustrates Shang Tsung's growing importance in the Emperor's plans. This increase in magical ability reflects his character's progression from a tournament host to a key player in the invasion of Earthrealm. It also hints at the dangerous game Shang Tsung plays constantly, seeking to increase his own power while serving under a tyrannical ruler. Shang Tsung's ending in Mortal Kombat 3 reveals the culmination of his character development. Upon discovering Shao Kahn's intention to betray him, Shang Tsung demonstrates his cunning by turning against his master. His defeat of Motaro and Shao Kahn showcases not only his increased power, but also his opportunistic nature. The final twist where Shang Tsung takes all the souls for himself and rules Earth highlights his ultimate goal of achieving supreme power regardless of allegiance. Moving on to Kitana, who came back in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. In Mortal Kombat 2, Kitana was introduced as Shao Kahn's loyal daughter and personal assassin. However, her discovery of her true origins and the revelation that Mileena was an evil clone created by Shang Tsung marked the beginning of her journey towards a rebellion. This realization shattered her perception of her life and set the stage for her dramatic character development. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 represents the pinnacle of Kitana's initial character arc. Her decision to delete Mileena and subsequent accusation of treason by the Outworld High Courts demonstrates her commitment to the truth and her willingness to face the consequences of her actions. This act of defiance against Shao Kahn shows Kitana's growth from a subservient assassin to a woman determined to reclaim her true identity and heritage. Kitana's quest to reach Queen Sindel and reveal their shared past highlights her transformation to a proactive heroine. Her ability to evade Shao Kahn's forces and survive an assassination attempt by a reptile showcases her skills as a warrior and her determination to succeed against overwhelming odds. The allegiance she forms with Jade and Earth's warriors further illustrates her growth as a leader and her ability to inspire loyalty in others. The culmination of Kitana's character development is evident in her role in defeating Shao Kahn and restoring both Earth and Edenia. Her actions not only saved two realms, but also allow her to reclaim her rightful place as Princess of Edenia. This journey from Shao Kahn's assassin to a key figure in his downfall represents a complete reversal of her initial role and fulfillment of her character's potential. Now, Kano. In the original Mortal Kombat, Kano was introduced as a leader of the Black Dragon crime syndicate and a mercenary. His initial portrayal established him as a ruthless criminal with a distinctive metal plate covering part of his face and a red cybernetic eye. Kano's primary role was that of an antagonist, particularly the nemesis of Special Forces agent Sonya Blade. By Mortal Kombat 3, Kano's character has developed significantly. Initially presumed to be dead after the events of the first tournament, he resurfaces in Outworld, demonstrating his remarkable survival skills. This revelation highlights Kano's resourcefulness and his ability to navigate dangerous situations to his advantage. Kano's evolution is further evident in his strategic thinking. Recognizing the threat posed by Shao Kahn's invasion, he convinces the Emperor to spare his life by offering his services. This move showcases Kano's opportunistic nature and his talent for identifying and exploiting opportunities for personal gain, even in the face of global catastrophe. In Mortal Kombat 3, Kano's role expands as he becomes a weapons instructor for Shao Kahn's armies. This position not only ensures his survival, but also elevates his status within the Outworld hierarchy. It demonstrates Kano's adaptability and willingness to align himself with powerful entities to further his own agenda. Kano's character arc culminates in his ending, where he outmaneuvers Shao Kahn, revealing the full extent of his scheming nature. By luring Kahn's armies into a trap and ultimately defeating the Emperor himself, Kano showcases his tactical prowess and ambition. However, his inability to control the souls he sought to possess underscored the limitations of his power and the unpredictable consequences of his actions. Now on to a fan favorite character, Scorpion. In the first Mortal Kombat, Scorpion was introduced as a vengeful spectre, resurrected to seek retribution against Sub-Zero for the deletion of himself and his clan. His primary motivation was revenge, making him a straightforward antagonist with a singular purpose. This initial portrayal established Scorpion as a fearsome warrior with supernatural abilities, including his iconic spear attack and Hellfire powers. By Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Scorpion's character has developed significant nuance. His escape from the Netherrealm during Shao Kahn's invasion attempt marks a turning point in his story. No longer bound by his previous allegiances, Scorpion becomes a wild card in the struggle between Earthrealm and Outworld. This newfound freedom allows for a more complex exploration of his character, moving beyond his initial role as a simple seeker of vengeance. The most dramatic development in Scorpion's character arc is his shifting relationship with Sub-Zero. Upon discovering that the current Sub-Zero is not his original nemesis, but rather the younger brother of the man he deleted, Scorpion's motivations fundamentally change. His vow to protect the new Sub-Zero as restitution for his past actions demonstrates significant growth, showcasing his capacity for honor and redemption. Scorpion's ending in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 further illustrates his complex nature. Initially enlisted by Shao Kahn, he ultimately turns against the Emperor to fulfill his vow to protect Sub-Zero. This decision highlights Scorpion's internal struggle between his violent nature and his sense of honor. His actions in defeating Shao Kahn and restoring Earth demonstrate that despite his origins as a vengeful spirit, Scorpion is capable of heroic deeds. The nature of Scorpion's existence returning to Hell only to rise again adds a tragic dimension to his character. It suggests that despite his movements of heroism, he remains bound to his spectral nature, forever caught between the realms of the living and the dead. Okay, so there's two Sub-Zeros, so I will be speaking about both. First, I'll touch on MK3 Sub-Zero before I get into the trilogy version of classic Sub-Zero. In Mortal Kombat 2, Sub-Zero was introduced as the younger brother of the original Sub-Zero, seeking to avenge his brother's death. This iteration of Sub-Zero maintained the iconic ice powers and ninja aesthetic while beginning to establish his own identity, distinct from his predecessor. While Mortal Kombat 3, Sub-Zero's character has developed considerably. The decision to unmask him symbolizes a dramatic shift in his narrative, revealing not just his face but also the depth of his character. His betrayal of the Lin Kuei clan due to their cyborg initiative demonstrates his strong moral compass and willingness to defy authority when it conflicts with his principles. This act of rebellion transforms Sub-Zero from a simple clan warrior into a rogue ninja with a personal mission. The conflict with his former clan adds a layer of tragedy to Sub-Zero's story, pursued by cyborg assassins who were once his comrades. He must fight not only in external threats but also in the ghosts of his past. This struggle humanizes Sub-Zero, making him more relatable as a character facing difficult choices and their consequences. Sub-Zero's reunion with Smoke in his ending further develops his character. By helping Smoke recall his past, Sub-Zero demonstrates his loyalty to his friends and desire to save others from the fate he narrowly escaped. This act of compassion shows growth from a solitary warrior to one who values alliances and friendship. Now, Mortal Kombat Trilogy Sub-Zero is different from Mortal Kombat 3 Sub-Zero, but still has the same moveset. In the first Mortal Kombat, Sub-Zero is portrayed as a ruthless warrior with a single mission: to delete Shang Tsung. His initial characterization was relatively one-dimensional, focusing primarily on his deadly skills and icy abilities. However, his apparent death at the end of the first tournament set the stage for a more complex narrative. The reappearance of classic Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat Trilogy adds a layer of intrigue to his character. Believed to have been deleted, his mysterious return raises questions about his true identity and motivations. This unexpected resurrection suggests a deeper storyline hinting at powers or circumstances beyond the initial understanding of both players and other characters in the Mortal Kombat universe. Classic Sub-Zero's bio in Trilogy indicates a shift in his character's focus. While still affiliated with the Lin Kuei, his mission now seems more personal, targeting Shang Tsung once again. This persistent struggle as a character is driven by unfinished business or a deeper vendetta, adding complexity to his original portrayal as a simple assassin. The most significant development in classic Sub-Zero's character comes in his trilogy ending. The revelation that his true identity shocks both Outworld and Earthborn warriors implies a connection to a long-missing warrior from a previous tournament. This twist not only adds depth to Sub-Zero's backstory, but also creates a bridge between different iterations of the character, suggesting a more intricate narrative than initially presented. Now let's look at the human Smoke. In his human form, Smoke is characterized by his agility, stealth, and mastery of ninjutsu techniques. His unique ability to manipulate smoke adds an element of mystique to his character, setting him apart from other Lin Kuei assassins. This version of Smoke is more relatable and emotionally complex. Capable of forming strong bonds as evidenced by his close friendships with Sub-Zero. In contrast, Cyber Smoke from Mortal Kombat 3 is a robotic version of the character, transformed against his will by the Lin Kuei's automation process. This iteration of Smoke loses much of his humanity, becoming a programmed assassin with the enhanced strength and built-in weaponry. The cybernetic version represents a tragic fate for the character, trapping his soul within a mechanical body. The human version of Smoke in Trilogy allows players to experience the character as he was before his forced transformation, providing insight into his original personality and fighting style. This iteration emphasizes Smoke's ninja heritage and his struggle against the Lin Kuei's cyborg initiative, adding depth to his narrative arc. Smoke's ending in Mortal Kombat Trilogy pointedly highlights the contrast between his human and cyborg forms. It emphasizes the tragedy of his transformation, noting that while he becomes even more lethal as a machine, his true human form is lost, existing only in dreams. This ending underscores the theme of a loss of humanity and the price of technological advancement. In the Mortal Kombat universe, human Smoke's inclusion in Mortal Kombat Trilogy serves as a what-if scenario, allowing players to explore an alternate path for their character and experience the fierce warrior he was before his cybernetic conversion. This version of Smoke represents not just a different visual design, but a fundamentally different character in terms of personality, motivations, and fighting style compared to his robotic counterpart. Now let's turn our attention to Reptile. In the first game, Reptile was essentially a green palette swap of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, combining their special moves with increased speed. His inclusion as a secret character sparked intrigue among players who had to fulfill specific conditions to face him in battle. This innovative approach to a character design set a precedent for secret characters in fighting games and contributed to Mortal Kombat's popularity. While Mortal Kombat 2, Reptile had evolved into a playable character with his own unique moveset. This iteration introduced his signature abilities such as Acid Spit and Invisibility, setting him apart from other ninjas in the roster. The game also began to flesh out his backstory, establishing him as one of the last surviving members of a reptilian race called the Saurians. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 further developed Reptile's character, both in terms of gameplay and narrative. His bio and ending in this game reveal a complex character torn between loyalty and personal desires. As a servant of Shao Kahn, Reptile is tasked with capturing or deleting Katana, showcasing his role as an enforcer for the Emperor. However, his ending exposes the tragic nature of his character, as he realizes Shao Kahn's promises to resurrect his race were empty. This development adds depth to Reptile's motivations, transforming him from a simple minion to a character with his own goals and internal conflicts. His desire to revive his extinct race becomes a driving force, making him a more sympathetic and multifaceted character. The betrayal by Shao Kahn and Reptile's subsequent rebellion demonstrate his capacity for independent thought and action, moving beyond his initial portrayal as a mindless servant. Now on to Jax. Jax's evolution from Mortal Kombat 2 to Mortal Kombat 3 showcased a significant transformation in both his character design and narrative role. In Mortal Kombat 2, Jax was introduced as a powerful special forces officer, distinguished by his muscular physique and military background. His initial appearance established him as a formidable fighter, but it was in Mortal Kombat 3 that he truly came into his own as a unique and iconic character. The most noticeable change in Jax's character for Mortal Kombat 3 was the introduction of his metal bionic arms. This modification not only altered his visual designs, but also significantly impacted his fighting style and backstory. The bionic implants were a response to the looming threat of Outworld's invasion, demonstrating Jax's proactive approach to defending Earthrealm. This upgrade symbolized his determination and foresight, as well as his willingness to physically alter himself for the greater good. Jax's role in the narrative also expanded in Mortal Kombat 3. While Mortal Kombat 2, he was primarily focused on rescuing his partner Sonya Blade. In Mortal Kombat 3, he became a key figure in Earth's defense against Shao Kahn's invasion. His bio reveals that he took initiative in preparing for the coming conflict, even when his superiors doubted the threat. This portrayal deepened Jax's character, showing him as not just a strong fighter, but also as a strategic thinker and leader. The evolution of Jax's character is further evident in his ending for Mortal Kombat 3. His victory over Shao Kahn's forces and the Emperor himself solidified his status as one of Earth's mightiest defenders. The establishment of the Outworld Investigation Agency with Sonya Blade demonstrated his commitment to long-term solutions and his ability to transition from a purely military role to a more scientific and exploratory one. This development added layers to Jax's character, showing his adaptability and forward-thinking nature. Now let's look into the most dangerous clone, Mileena. In Mortal Kombat 2, Mileena was introduced as a clone of Kitana, created by Shang Tsung under Shao Kahn's orders. Her primary purpose was to spy on Kitana and ensure her loyalty to Kahn. This initial portrayal establishes Mileena as a loyal servant to Shao Kahn, driven by a desire to please her father, and a deep-seated jealousy towards Kitana. By Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Mileena's character takes a dramatic turn. After being deleted by Kitana, she's resurrected by Shao Kahn, who grants her the ability to read Kitana's thoughts. This new power elevates Mileena's role from a mere clone to a valuable asset in Kahn's plans against Earthrealm. However, this resurrection also marks the beginning of a significant shift in Mileena's loyalties. Mileena's ending in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 reveals a complex layer to her character. Her time in another realm introduces her to Shinnok, a powerful god who instills fear in her. This fear becomes a catalyst for Mileena's betrayal of Shao Kahn. Her loyalty, once unwavering, is replaced by a new allegiance born out of self-preservation and ambition. This evolution demonstrates Mileena's growing complexity as a character. She transitions from a one-dimensional villain driven by jealousy and loyalty to a more nuanced figure capable of long-term scheming and betrayal. Her ability to manipulate the situation to her advantage using her newfound powers to orchestrate Shao Kahn's downfall shows a level of cunning and ambition not present in her earlier incarnation. Mileena's journey from Mortal Kombat 2 to Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 thus represents a shift from a character defined by her relationship to others, Kitana and Shao Kahn, to one who actively shapes her own destiny, even if that destiny is ultimately in service to another master. This growth adds depth to Mileena's character, transforming her from a simple clone to a complex villain within her own agency and motivations. Time to look at the Shaolin monk hero himself, Liu Kang. In the original Mortal Kombat, Liu Kang was introduced as a dedicated Shaolin warrior, chosen to represent Earthrealm in the tournament. His character was defined by his unwavering commitment to protecting Earth, setting him apart from other fighters who had personal motivations for entering the competition. Liu Kang's straightforward and noble purpose made him the ideal protagonist, embodying the classic hero archetype. Mortal Kombat 2 expanded on Liu Kang's role, solidifying his position as Earthrealm's champion. His victory in the first tournament elevated his status, but also increased the challenges he faced. The game introduced more depth to his character, showcasing his ability to adapt to new threats and his growing importance in the struggle against Outworld. The massacre of his home temple fuels his thirst to avenge his fallen brothers. Liu Kang's fighting style evolved, gaining new abilities that reflected his increased mastery and the higher stakes of the conflict. While Mortal Kombat 3, Liu Kang's character has developed significantly. No longer just a tournament fighter, he became the prime target of Shao Kahn's extermination squads, highlighting his importance to Earthrealm's defense. This shift in status demonstrates Liu Kang's growth from a relatively unknown monk to a recognized threat to Outworld's plans. His role as the reigning Mortal Kombat champion put him at the forefront of the conflict, showcasing his increased responsibility and the weight of expectations placed upon him. Liu Kang's ending in Mortal Kombat 3 illustrates his character growth. The apparent death of his Shaolin brother, Kung Lao, serves as a catalyst for Liu Kang to tap into deeper reserves of strength and determination. This emotional depth was not as prominent in early iterations, showing a more nuanced and relatable hero. His ability to channel personal loss and the power to defeat Shao Kahn demonstrates his maturation as both a warrior and a character. Now let's look into the other Shaolin monk, Kung Lao. In Mortal Kombat 2, Kung Lao was introduced as a descendant of the Great Kung Lao, a former Mortal Kombat champion. Initially, Kung Lao was portrayed as a somewhat reluctant warrior, having declined to represent the Shaolin in the first tournament due to a burden of becoming champion. However, the attack of the Shaolin Temple by Baraka and his Tarkatan soldiers prompted Kung Lao to join Liu Kang in their journey to Outworld, seeking vengeance for their fallen brothers. By Mortal Kombat 3, Kung Lao's character had developed significantly. After Liu Kang's victory over Shao Kahn in the previous game, Kung Lao began working towards his ultimate goal of rebuilding the White Lotus Society at the Wuxi Academy. This demonstrates his growth from a reluctant fighter to a visionary leader, focused on training a new generation of warriors to protect Earthrealm. However, Shao Kahn's invasion of Earthrealm in Mortal Kombat 3 forced Kung Lao to abandon his plans for the White Lotus Society temporarily. This shift in priorities highlight Kung Lao's adaptability and his commitment to defending Earthrealm above all else. His willingness to face Shao Kahn directly despite the grave danger shows his growth in courage and his acceptance of his role as one of Earth's chosen warriors. Kung Lao's ending in Mortal Kombat 3, while not entirely canon, provides insight into his character development. His decision to fight alongside Liu Kang against Shao Kahn's forces demonstrates his loyalty to the strong bond he has formed with his fellow Shaolin warrior. The mention of using knowledge attained as a Shaolin monk and fighting in the same name of his ancestor suggests a deeper connection to his heritage and training, indicating personal growth and stronger sense of identity. The evolution of Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat 2 to Mortal Kombat 3 thus represents a journey from a somewhat reluctant warrior to a dedicated defender of Earthrealm, willing to sacrifice his personal goals for the greater good. His character arc showcases themes of duty, heritage, and the weight of legacy, making him a more complex and nuanced figure in the Mortal Kombat narrative. Now, for the record, Goro and Kintaro added in this game just for players to get to play as them. They had no storyline addition to the story from what I could find. If you want to know more about their background history, I covered Goro in the Mortal Kombat retrospective, and I covered Kintaro in my Mortal Kombat 2 retrospective. Feel free to explore them for more information on those two characters. Now let's talk about Shao Kahn, the Emperor that returned in this game. In Mortal Kombat 2, Shao Kahn was introduced as the ultimate challenge, the final boss that players had to overcome. His role was primarily that of a powerful emperor seeking to conquer Earthrealm through the Mortal Kombat tournament. Kahn's character was defined by his immense strength, knowledge of dark magic, and his iconic taunts that would frustrate and mock players during battle. His presence in the game was more symbolic of the ultimate evil that the heroes had to defeat. Mortal Kombat 3 saw a significant expansion of Shao Kahn's character and role in the story. Frustrated by his inability to conquer Earthrealm through the traditional Mortal Kombat tournament, Kahn devised a plan to circumvent these rules entirely. By resurrecting Queen Sindel on Earth, he created a loophole that allowed him to invade Earthrealm without winning 10 consecutive Mortal Kombat tournaments. This strategic move demonstrated Kahn's cunning and willingness to bend or break rules to achieve his goals, adding depth to his character beyond just being a powerful warrior. In Mortal Kombat 3, Shao Kahn became a more active participant in the story. adding to the invasion of Earthrealm himself rather than relying solely on his subordinates. His ability to steal billions of souls from Earthrealm showcased the extent of his powers and the dire threat he posed. This direct involvement in the plot elevated Khan from a final boss to a central antagonist, driving the entire narrative of the game. Lastly, we got Motaro. Introduced in Mortal Kombat 3 represents a significant evolution in the series' sub-boss design. As a centaur, his unique four-legged form set him apart from previous challengers, offering players a formidable and visually striking opponent. Appointed by Shao Kahn to lead the extermination squads against Earth-chosen warriors, Motaro embodies the escalating threat from Outworld. His role highlights the ongoing conflict between the Centaurians and Shokan, adding depth to Outworld's internal politics and showcasing Shao Kahn's strategic manipulation of these two rivalries to further his conquest. Montaro's gameplay mechanics further reflect his imposing presence, with abilities like deflecting projectiles and teleporting making him a challenging adversary. His ending, simply stating Motaro wins, mirrors Shao Kahn's equally brief conclusion in Mortal Kombat Trilogy. This parallel underscores Montaro's significance as a powerful entity in his own right, capable of achieving total victory much like the Emperor himself. The brevity of his ending leaves much to the imagination, suggesting a complete and absolute triumph that requires no further elaboration. Okay, while we have 3 different versions of this game, the gameplay is usually similar with a few minor differences. Mortal Kombat 3 introduced several new mechanics that significantly altered gameplay, making fights faster, more strategic, and more unpredictable. One of the biggest additions was the run button, which came with a run meter. This was implemented to address concerns that previous games favored defensive play too much. The run button allowed characters to choose the distance between them and their opponents quickly, making offensive pressure more viable. However, the run meter prevented players from abusing this mechanic, adding an element of resource management to fights. Another major addition was the combat codes, a feature that allowed players to input 6-digit codes at the versus screen in 2-player matches to modify gameplay, fight hidden characters, or display secret messages. The game also introduced the Ultimate Mortal Kombat code, a 10-digit code that could be entered after a single-player game to permanently unlock Smoke as a playable character. However, arcade owners could reset this by accessing the game's diagnostic menu. These features added an extra layer of discovery and replay value to the game. Mortal Kombat 3 introduced chain combos, commonly known as dialer combos. Unlike the previous freeform juggle-based combo system, dialer combos require players to input preset button combinations for long attack strings. While this system made performing combos more structured, it also increased the game's learning curve, leading to a mixed reception from players. Finishers were expanded in Mortal Kombat 3 with the introduction of animalities, a highly anticipated feature where characters transform into animals to execute brutal finishing moves. However, in order to perform an animality, players first had to perform a mercy, which restored a sliver of health to their defeated opponent, giving them one last chance. Additionally, Mortal Kombat 3 introduced more fatalities and special moves per characters, along with 3 new stage fatalities. Beyond finishers, Mortal Kombat 3 introduced several small but notable gameplay enhancements. It was the first game in the series to feature multiple blood colors based on the character type, red for humans, green for centaurs like Shiva and Motaro, and a black oil for the Cyber Ninjas. It also marked the first time a Shokan character was playable, giving players access to her unique fighting style and animations. Another major addition was the multi-layered arenas, allowing characters to be uppercutted through the ceiling of a stage to continue fighting in a different location. Finally, the arcade version of Mortal Kombat 3 was the first in series to offer a player-selectable difficulty for single-player matches. In previous games, difficulty was set by the arcade operator, meaning players had no control over it. This change made the game more accessible to casual players while still providing a challenge for veterans. With these additions, Mortal Kombat 3 refined its combat system while introducing new finishers and mechanics, making it one of the most ambitious and feature-packed entries in this series at the time. Now moving on to Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, which builds upon the gameplay foundations established in Mortal Kombat 3, while introducing several key differences and additions. One of the most significant changes in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 is the addition of the Brutality finishing move, which replaces the mercy and animality finishers from Mortal Kombat 3 in the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis versions. Brutalities are complex combo strings that, when executed correctly, result in the opponent exploding into a shower of blood and body parts. This new finisher adds another layer of spectacle to the game's already infamous finishing moves. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 also marks the return of the Endurance Match, a feature originally present in the first Mortal Kombat absent in Mortal Kombat 3. In endurance matches, players must defeat 2 opponents consecutively to win a round, increasing the challenge and variety of gameplay. Additionally, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 introduces new special moves, chain combos, and gameplay balances for its characters, further refining and expanding upon the combat system introduced in Mortal Kombat 3. While both games feature the run button, chain combo system, and similar control scheme with 4 attack buttons, along with the dedicated block and run buttons, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 refinements and additions make for a more comprehensive and polished fighting experience compared to its predecessor. Mortal Kombat Trilogy significantly expands upon the gameplay of the first 2 in several ways. Trilogy features a massive roster that includes characters from the first 3 Mortal Kombat games, offering players a wider variety of fighting styles and movesets to choose from. This expanded roster allows for more diverse matchups and strategies compared to the first 2 versions of Mortal Kombat 3. Mortal Kombat Trilogy expanded its multiplayer options, offering several competitive modes across different platforms. Most versions included the classic one-on-one versus mode, allowing 2 players to face off in traditional battles. Team-based modes were also introduced, such as 2-on-2 and 3-on-3 battles, where players could compete with multiple characters in a single match. Additionally, the game featured an 8-player tournament mode, though matches remained strictly one-on-one. The Nintendo 64 version stood out by offering 3-on-3 simultaneous battles, creating a more chaotic and fast-paced multiplayer experience. One of the coolest aspects of Trilogy is sometimes they allow players to swap between the old and new skins of certain characters. If you're playing on the PlayStation, hover over Raiden, Kung Lao, Jax, or Kano. Press the select button and boom, they switch to an older skin from the previous game. So you could play as MK1 Raiden or Kano, or MK2 Jax or Kung Lao. It adds to its nostalgia, which is exactly what the team was going for. One of the most notable differences in Trilogy is the extensive list of options available upon completing the game. After winning, players are presented with various choices, including the opportunity to fight Chameleon, an exclusive character in the N64. Players can also view fatality demonstrations and access to classic endurance mode, offering additional content and replay value beyond the main arcade mode. This expanded post-game content significantly enhances the overall experience and longevity of Mortal Kombat Trilogy compared to its predecessors. Okay, now I have 3 different games and many different ports. I feel like it just grows more and more with each video, but let's jump right into all the ports of the first Mortal Kombat 3. The Super Nintendo port of Mortal Kombat 3 is a curious beast. On the surface, it delivers everything a fan might expect: solid gameplay, tight controls, and an impressive amount of content. Yet, it is a game somehow manages to feel like a step backwards rather than forward. The visuals, while detailed, suffer from the inevitable compression of arcade sprites, leaving some characters looking slightly off. The sound design is strong with punchy impacts and Shao Kahn's booming taunts intact, but the overall presentation lacks the crispness that the Mortal Kombat 2 achieved on the same hardware. Despite these shortcomings, the game remains mechanically sound, with fluid combos, a functional run button, and plenty of ways to eviscerate opponents. But with Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 offering a superior version of this experience, the SNES port of MK3 feels more like a relic of an awkward transition rather than a must-play installment. Mortal Kombat 3 on the Sega Master System is an absurd relic of Midway's relentless push to put their glory fighter on every possible platform, no matter how ill-suited. Released exclusively in South America, this port is an unholy mess, a choppy, sluggish, and borderline unplayable adaptation of an already controversial sequel. Character sprites are stiff and pixelated, backgrounds are barren, and the iconic blood splatter looks more like a ketchup spill. Special moves are nearly impossible to pull off with the SMS controller, and the sound design, if you call it that, is a mix of painful beeps and the garbled grunts. The roster is stripped down to a laughable section, missing key fighters like Liu Kang and Motaro, and the lack of combos makes battles feel more like slow motion slap fights than brutal encounters. There's almost nothing redeeming here, except for its sheer rarity, making it a curiosity for hardcore collectors rather than anyone looking for fun. Mortal Kombat 3 for the PlayStation is a solid, if somewhat uninspired port of the arcade. The gameplay remains fast and fluid with a decent roster. The addition of auto combos make combat more accessible, but also takes away from some of the skill-based depth from previous entries, making it a mixed bag depending on your playstyle. Graphically, the game looks good, but doesn't push the PlayStation hardware in any meaningful way. While the backgrounds are atmospheric, they don't fully convey the destruction and chaos the story suggests. The sound design is serviceable with faithful recreations of arcade effects, though the music is too quiet to leave much of an impact. Despite being the best home console port of NK3, the overall experience doesn't have the staying power of earlier entries, making it a decent but ultimately forgettable installment in the series. Mortal Kombat 3 for the PC brought significant changes to the series, most notably the introduction of Universal Combo System that influenced future entries. The game expanded the roster with new characters, revamping existing fighters with updated designs. While the PC version retained the arcade experience, it suffered from technical issues, including inconsistent animation, grainy backgrounds, and occasional crashes during fatalities. Control-wise, playing with a keyboard proved cumbersome, making a 6-button controller almost essential. Despite its flaws, Mortal Kombat 3 remains a pivotal entry in the franchise, making both an evolution and a point of contention among fans regarding the series' direction. The Genesis port of MGS3 is a competent but heavily compromised adaptation of the arcade game, struggling with technical limitations while retaining the core gameplay. The character roster, special moves, and finishing techniques are all intact, offering a familiar yet slightly sluggish combat experience. However, the graphics take a severe hit with grainy visuals, muted colors, and choppy animations that fail to capture the arcade's fluidity. Sound quality is also diminished, with compressed music and muffled voice clips that lack the impact of the original. While the core mechanics remain engaging, the removal of certain features such as missing character animations and cut down backgrounds make this version feel like a downgrade. The infamous difficulty spike, particularly against Shao Kahn, remains intact, providing a brutal challenge for players. Despite its flaws, the Genesis version still delivers a serviceable Mortal Kombat experience, but it pales in comparison to superior ports on more powerful hardware. The Game Gear port of Mortal Kombat 3 is a significantly downgraded version of the game, plagued by technical limitations that make it one of the least appealing adaptations. The visuals suffer from heavy pixelation, with darkened detail, lacking backgrounds, and choppy animations that strip the characters of fluid movement. Special move effects such as Cyrax's Plasma Net and Sub-Zero's Ice Freeze appear poorly implemented. The audio fares no better, with absence of speech, irritating sound effects, and music that fail to capture the intensity of the series. Controls are sluggish, with input delays that make executing special moves frustrating, while the unbalanced AI frequently spams attacks, leaving little room for strategy. The lack of a combo system, a defining feature of Mortal Kombat 3, further diminishes the gameplay depth. Replay value is almost non-existent, as unlocking smoke is the only noticeable incentive. Overall, this port feels like a rushed, uninspired attempt to capitalize on the franchise, making it a hard pass for all but the most dedicated collectors. Lastly, the Nintendo Game Boy port of Mortal Kombat 3. This is a significantly underwhelming adaptation of the franchise, plagued by technical issues and poor design choices. While the original Mortal Kombat games on the Game Boy were relatively enjoyable, the transition to Mortal Kombat 3 was a step backwards. The graphics were too dark, with characters and backgrounds that lacked detail, making it hard to fully enjoy the action. The controls are unresponsive, often failing to register inputs, and the need to press the start button to block adds to the frustration. The absence of blood and gore, once a hallmark of the series, further dampens the experience. While the audio features some decent tunes and sound effects, it can't compensate for the lackluster gameplay. Overall, this version of Mortal Kombat 3 fails to capture the essence of the franchise, making it a difficult recommendation for fans or newcomers alike. Now let's look at the ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 ports, starting with the Sega Genesis. The Genesis port of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 delivers a solid, enjoyable experience that improves upon its predecessors with some notable additions. The gameplay remains true to the Mortal Kombat formula, but introduces new features such as the addition of running with a run meter, new combo systems, and stage transitions where characters can be uppercutted into different areas. However, it does not feature the mercies or animalities from the arcade version, and the roster changes while adding new characters led to some fan criticism. The 6-button controller is essential for gameplay control, as the variety of moves require a larger button set. The graphics of this version are visually striking, with highly digitized character sprites and 3D rendered backgrounds, contributing to a darker Western influence aesthetic. Although there is a slight pixelation, it does not detract from the overall experience. The sound design with new, darker soundtrack complements the atmosphere and adds to the tension of the battles. The voice acting, including Shao Kahn's iconic insults, is solid, though the sound quality is slightly inferior to other versions. Overall, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 for the Genesis is a well-rounded and faithful port with improvements that make it an excellent choice for fans of the series. The Sega Saturn port of Mortal Kombat 3 offers a typical Mortal Kombat experience, but with a few unique adjustments that may appeal to hardcore fans while frustrating others. The gameplay follows traditional 2D fighting style, focusing on combat without endurance rounds or textured mic stages. However, the addition of a combination system that lets players chain together a series of high and low attacks, 3 to 6 hits, adds a new layer of complexity. While the system introduces a fresh challenge, it can be difficult to execute consistently due to the Saturn's controller layout, which requires a 6-button controller for full control. Some moves have been removed to streamline gameplay, but this results in a less fluid experience compared to other versions of the game. The inability to cancel a combination started can be frustrating, particularly when facing skilled opponents, making the game feel more punishing for newcomers. Visually, the game stands out with new character sprites and backgrounds such as the desert stage where players fight Jade. However, some animation frames were discarded, and certain fatalities were changed or omitted due to hardware limitations. Despite these compromises, the visuals remain clean, with new stages offering some variety to the overall aesthetic. Audio in the Sega Saturn version doesn't introduce significant changes. While the new stages feature updated themes, the sound effects occasionally suffer from glitches, such as sounds continuing after the match ends or abruptly cutting off at the start of the next match. The overall audio experience falls short of the consistency found in the arcade version, detracting from the immersive atmosphere of the game. Overall, the Sega Saturn port of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 delivers a solid but imperfect experience. While it features new characters and stages, the gameplay can feel chopped up, and technical issues in both controls and audio detract from the overall polish of the game. It remains a fun option for die-hard fans, but its flaws may make it less appealing for casual players. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 for the Super Nintendo brings an enhanced version of Mortal Kombat 3 with significant improvements that delighted fans of the series. The gameplay remains familiar with added features like running, new combo systems, and the ability to uppercut opponents in the different stages in certain arenas. The SNES version stands out for its improved graphics and sound over the Genesis port, featuring digitalized character sprites and 3D rendered backgrounds that create darker, more Western atmosphere. The Super Nintendo version of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 offers a polished and definitive version of its arcade counterpart, earning high praise for its engaging gameplay and overall presentation. Now let's move on to Mortal Kombat Trilogy ports, starting with the N64. The N64 port of Mortal Kombat Trilogy is a nostalgic celebration of the series. However, while the visuals are impressively detailed for a 2D game on a 3D capable system, the port suffers from a slightly outdated feel as it doesn't fully utilize the N64's graphical potential. The gameplay with this complex fighting engine may feel cumbersome to some, especially compared to earlier titles like Mortal Kombat 2. The run button and aggression meter add some flair, but are ultimately not as impactful as hoped, making the game's fighting mechanics feel more frustrating than fluid. The game's replay value is substantial thanks to the tons of unlockables and multiplayer fun, but the solo experience can become quickly repetitive. What's most interesting about this game is you can play as Chameleon by inputting a certain code, which puts it over many versions of this game. The PC port of Mortal Kombat Trilogy is a relatively faithful adaptation of the arcade version, offering players access to a comprehensive roster. The game retains the fast-paced action and brutal fatalities, providing a fun experience that closely mirrors the arcade without the need for constant coin insertion. While the visuals, featuring detailed character designs and smooth animations, were impressive for the time, the game struggles with occasional image slowdown and frame skipping, particularly when executing certain moves and fatalities. The sound design, including stage music and special move effects, faithfully replicates the arcade's audio, but some issues arise with audio looping during intense action sequences. In terms of gameplay, the PC version features similar controls with the option for a gamepad or keyboard, though the latter can be challenging for precise inputs. Although Mortal Kombat Trilogy offers a 2D fighting experience with fun multiplayer options and a good range of content, it lacks features or additional levels compared to the arcade version, making it more of a compilation for dedicated fans than a revolutionary update for the broader audience. The PlayStation port of Mortal Kombat Trilogy brings together the characters, moves, and modes from the first three Mortal Kombat games. The gameplay closely mirrors Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, featuring the same combo mechanics, special moves, and the introduction of the run button. However, it includes some downsides like simplistic auto combos, which may be a bit of a turn for hardcore players. The graphics, while decent, do not do justice to the series' potential, with some backgrounds feeling bland and character designs looking like 16-bit sprites than 32-bit. Still, the remix music and impressive sound effects, including Shao Kahn's iconic commentary, elevate the experience and the overall difficulty and replay value that make an enjoyable title that still holds up as a fan favorite. The last port I'm going to talk about is the Sega Saturn. The Mortal Kombat Trilogy port for the Sega Saturn delivers a classic, no-frills fighting experience that captures the essence of the arcade version, with 26 characters from the first three Mortal Kombat games. Players can dive into a bloody, fast-paced battle with signature special moves and fatalities, offering a satisfying amount of gore and destruction. The 2-on-2 and 8-player round-robin modes adds some extra multiplayer fun, although the game doesn't introduce many new secrets or features. The control is spot on, with easy button configurations making it a breeze to pull off combos and fatalities. Though a Saturn controller can be tricky for the most complex finishing moves, visually the game holds up well, delivering solid character designs and special effects, but suffers from occasional slowdowns and frame chops, making the PlayStation 1 version a better alternative for some. Audio-wise, the familiar soundtrack and sound effects are great, but occasional audio loops, especially during brutalities, can be annoying. Overall, while Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the Saturn isn't groundbreaking, it offers a solid port with enough action and replayability to keep fans engaged. Mortal Kombat 3 received a strong commercial reception upon its release in 1995. It was reported as the most popular arcade game in May 1995 by Replay and received an American Amusement Machine Association's Diamond Award for sales achievements. The game was also the highest grossing arcade conversion kit in the United States for that year. The home console versions of Mortal Kombat 3 also performed exceptionally well. Williams Entertainment reported combined sales of 250,000 copies for the Super NES and Genesis version in their first weekend of availability. The Super NES versions alone had sold over 1 million copies by November 23, 1995, and Mortal Kombat 3 went to become the best-selling home game of 1995 in the United States. This commercial success led to a nomination for the Video Software Dealers Association Video Game of the Year for 1995, though it ultimately lost to Donkey Kong Country 2. Critical reception for Mortal Kombat 3 was generally positive, although mixed opinions emerged regarding certain aspects of the game. Many reviewers praised the game's graphics, particularly on home consoles, with Next Gen noting that the game looked better on the last generation consoles than in arcades. The PlayStation version received high praise for its accurate replication of the arcade version, earning an Electric Monthly Game of the Month award. However, the game also faced criticism. Some fans and critics disliked the inclusion of new characters at the expense of established favorites like Scorpion and Katana. The new combo system and run mechanics were also points of contention. Despite these criticisms, many reviewers still consider Mortal Kombat 3 a solid entry in the series, with PC Gamer initially giving the PC version a high score of 89%. Now, on some Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, this game received a mixed but generally positive reception upon its release, with critics and fans alike appreciating the improvements over Mortal Kombat 3 while also noting some persistent issues. Many reviewers praised the game for its faithful arcade conversion, particularly on the Sega Saturn. Critics highlighted the game's retention of the arcade version's content and quality, with EGM naming it their Game of the Month and Video Games calling it simply a great game. The Saturn version was especially lauded for its near-perfect translation, despite some criticisms of long loading times. However, some reviewers expressed a concern about the game's lack of innovation. A Next Generation critic worried that Mortal Kombat series was falling into a pattern of unnecessary updates rather than true sequels. While acknowledging that the game maintained the series' quality and gameplay, they felt that even the additions of new characters was undermined by recycling graphical assets from previous games. The game's extensive roster and numerous secrets were praised by many, with Rich Lambeter of Maximum noting that while it might not match contemporary Capcom fighters in gameplay, it was unrivaled in terms of replayability and hidden content. This aspect of the game was particularly appealing to fans of the series. Critics were divided on the game's value proposition, especially for the 16-bit versions. Some felt that Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 offered too little improvement over Mortal Kombat 3, particularly given the short time between releases. This sentiment was echoed by Dan Su of Electronic Gaming Monthly, who expressed feeling cheated by the quick succession of releases. Despite these criticisms, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was generally well received by fans of the series. It helped to win back some of the players who were disappointed with Mortal Kombat 3, although some remained frustrated by the absence of certain popular characters like Johnny Cage, Raiden, and Baraka. Ultimately, Mortal Kombat 3 was considered a pretty solid entry in the series, with later retrospectives ranking it highly among Mortal Kombat games. Its enduring popularity is evident in the inclusion on various best of lists, and its creator Ed Boon naming it his favorite Mortal Kombat arcade title. Now, the last game's reception to cover is Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Mortal Kombat Trilogy received a mixed reception upon its release, with opinions varying significantly depending on the platform and publication reviewing it. The game was generally praised for its comprehensive content, bringing together characters and stages from previous Mortal Kombat games into one package. Many reviewers appreciated the sheer amount of content in Mortal Kombat Trilogy. The game's large roster of fighters, numerous stages, and variety of play modes were frequently cited as positive aspects. For instance, GamePro praised the N64 version for its accurate recreation of the arcade game's graphics and the addition of new features like the aggressor meter. The absence of load times in the N64 version was also noted as a significant advantage by some reviewers. However, the game also faced criticism on several fronts. The graphics were a point of contention, with some reviewers finding them disappointing, especially for the Nintendo 64 version. Given the console's capabilities, audio quality was another area of debate, with some reviewers describing the sound effects and music as muffled, particularly in the N64 version. Some reviewers also noted that the game was missing frames of animation compared to the arcade versions, and that some fan-favorite characters were absent from certain versions of the game. Despite these criticisms, many publications still recommended Mortal Kombat Trilogy, especially for fans of the series. Despite these criticisms, many publications still recommended Mortal Kombat Trilogy, especially for fans of the series. The game was often described as a must-have for the Mortal Kombat enthusiasts, even if non-fans were advised to look elsewhere. The PlayStation version in particular was often favored over the N64 version due to its additional characters and lower price point. Ultimately, Mortal Kombat Trilogy was seen as a comprehensive package that brought together the best 2D Mortal Kombat games. Even if it didn't necessarily push the series forward in significant ways, its release on the N64 at the time, when the console had a few competing titles, led to the impressive sales figures, cementing its place in the Mortal Kombat legacy. When it comes to Mortal Kombat 3, you've got 3 different ways to experience it. But honestly, there's only one real way to play it. I like saving my personal opinions for the end because I want to stay objective throughout the video. But now, I can speak my mind. It's honestly sad how behind the scenes deals affected Mortal Kombat 3. The first time I played it and noticed Scorpion, Johnny Cage, and even Raiden were missing, it bothered me. Any Mortal Kombat fan will tell you, if you don't have Sub-Zero or Scorpion, whatever game you're playing, it ain't Mortal Kombat. That was a huge red flag. I get that contract disputes led to these changes, but it really hurt the game. The fact that Raiden didn't come back until Mortal Kombat Trilogy just rubbed me the wrong way. And of all 3 versions, Trilogy hands down is the best way to play. The entire roster from 3 different games, that alone made it worthwhile. My brother had this game growing up, and I watched him play it all the time. He had Trilogy along with Mortal Kombat 3 for the Sega Genesis, and to be honest, he spent way more time playing Trilogy than MK3. That stuck with me. When I finally got to play both myself, I saw firsthand that Trilogy was the definitive way to go. I do wish there had been a tie-in comic to help keep the story organized, because let's be real, the Mortal Kombat timeline can get messy. The new finishers were awesome. Fatalities were better in this game, and while some were great, others sucked. They were still miles ahead of Johnny Cage's weak SNES kick to the chest fatality. Now, I might be in the minority, but I never really cared for animalities. Yet, turning into an animal's cool, but honestly, I'd rather just see a decapitation or just another friendship. Those are way more entertaining. But nothing beats brutalities. Watching your character unleash a stone cold can of whoop ass and make your opponent explode into a pile of bones, that never gets old. And let's be real, don't feel bad about using one-hit fatalities. They make things so much easier. Sitting there trying to input a long fatality sequence can get more tedious than fun, especially when the AI starts pulling up its usual cheating nonsense. If I have to struggle against a CPU just to win, you bet I'm one button fatalitying them. If you love retro Mortal Kombat, then Trilogy is the only way to go, especially since it finally brought back Johnny Cage. I don't know if I mentioned this in my other videos, but he's my favorite character next to Sub-Zero. Taking him out of Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, yeah, that was a big no-no for me. But hey, I respect anyone who prefers the first 2 versions. At the end of the day, if you're like me, Mortal Kombat holds a special place in your heart. And as far as Mortal Kombat Trilogy goes, it lives in there rent-free. I don't know what else to say. If you get the chance to play this game, it's an experience worth having. If you made it to the end of this video, I want to say thank you for taking the time to check out my retrospectives. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like. It really helps push the channel to new viewers. Next week, we're diving back into the Rockstar Takeover with GTA 3. And in 2 weeks, the Mortal Kombat Takeover contains a Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. So if you love retrospectives, make sure to subscribe. Whether you're working, driving, or just need to hear my voice up you fall asleep, I got you covered. This is the Retro Phantom, signing out.